How does it feel to be part of the London MCM Comic Con?
Oh, it feels great. I'm excited to be here. A little jet lag. Was up since 1:30 this morning, so haven't been able to go back to sleep, but I'm excited. I mean, there's a lot of really cool people already at the table, and it's just nice to meet people.
What are the most common ones? What are the ones that fans always seem to want to know?
How did you get into Power Rangers? Or how do I become a voice actor? Or what was it like being on such and such show? What was it like being this character? Which is kind of an odd question, you know. What was it like? You know, it's like, wow. My answer was always like, it was cool. And you know, that's not exactly the answer they're looking for. I don't quite know the exact answer, but just, yeah, those are the basic ones.
Well, I've got one what is it like question. What is it like to be the second longest running Power Ranger, apart from like
Jason,
yeah.
What was it like? It's cool.
I also got to play the same character most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the same character. I had grown as an actor though, since the first run of my time on the show. So it was kind of cool to go in and play him a little more mature, and when I first went back for Space, I was basically the same guy, and I wasn't doing anything really. I think I may have started voiceover at that point. I can't remember. It was so close to when I left. And then Overdrive was kind of cool because it was so much later, And then I got to go to New Zealand to work on it. And when I went through the script, it felt exactly like when I left the show. It's fairly cheesy, it's a kid's show. And then my dialogue was ridiculous. And I adjusted just about every single line. And they were totally fine with it.
Yeah, you also got to lead your own team as well.
I did. I got to be the leader of the Retro Rangers, which wasn't as cool for a couple of them. But it was fun for me.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, and I could tell from that episode that you kind of grown into the role as well, because you had a lot more experience behind it. It was rather different than when you started out, because it's kind of, you can always tell when someone's kind of matured into their role. It fitted you like a glove.
Yeah, it was actually really nice, and that's what I was going for too. It's also kind of written into the script, whereas like a couple of them had like superpowers, and I was like, what? Well, I didn't know that they got superpowers after we left. So it was kind of cool for my character to go in and kind of just do it old school and just jump around and jump on things and battle that way.
Plus, you got that cool body armor as well.
I did get the body armor, yes, and I got to explode, the villain. So it was kind of cool. But I did have to say more phenomenal. Which I'd never said on the show until that moment.
Get it on the t-shirt. It's like, yeah, I've always said this.
With a big fireball,
What's the magic of Power Rangers? Why does it have that universal and enduring appeal?
And that's a great question. I don't know. I think maybe it's the pace of it. Maybe it's the structure that it's so easy to follow. Maybe it's the action, the colors, the explosions. It reminds me of I grew up on like kung fu theater, just kung fu films. I enjoyed them so much. Super cheesy, totally wacky, but cool fights and things like that. And I loved that stuff growing up. So like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and those guys, so it's kind of the same thing, I think. I don't know, it's like you grow up and then with something and then that just becomes your thing. I'm surprised it's still going now, because, there's so many awesome things to watch now. But, I really don't know. I don't know, there's some magic to it, I guess.
You play in a band as well, so
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How did that all start?
Oh gosh. So yes, I have a band. We're called I Shine. We've been around for about 13 years. We have about, I want to say 15 albums. Some of those include our karaoke albums and a few that were not released digitally. But yeah, we've been going on for a while. But how did we start? Basically, it was after Power Rangers, and I could not get a job. I could not get a job to save my life. I don't want to say homeless, but I was living with, whoever would let me stay with them. I had a couple trash bags, literally trash bags full of clothes with me, a guitar and a broken cot that I had with me. I just moved into wherever I could. I was in kind of a pretty bad place for a couple years, and I had this guitar, and I was depressed because I couldn't get a job. And it was tough at that time. Because I'm half Asian. So I would go in, my agent would send me in for Chinese guy, and I'd go in and some other dude would walk in who was definitely Chinese, like full on, and only in the mornings like this, I'm like, hello. But other than that, it's like I'm just this half Asian guy, and sometimes hard to fit. Some people think I'm Hispanic. So I couldn't get a job, so anyways, I had this guitar with me that I bought that I was gonna learn to play at some point, and I had nothing better to do. So I started to learn to play. I taught myself to play, and through that I taught myself to sing and write songs, and that really kind of brought me out of that depression. I was able to express my emotions in that time through music. I could play a chord that would express an emotion that I couldn't really say with words, and so it really kind of brought me out of it. And then I just realized that music had a lot of power, and so I wanted to kind of give that out to the world as well. And so I formed a band and was like, we just want to have a positive message and see what happens. And yeah, so that's kind of how the band formed.
Can you talk a little bit about why you think that is? Why you think anime did explode in the way it did?
I think people were ready for it. I grew up on cartoons that there's not really any depth to them. They're still fun to watch, Tom and Jerry and Popeye. They're fun to watch, but they didn't go dark or into deep places at all. And anime did. Anime was, very theatrical. The storylines were great. Eventually, we got the series like the Batman series and stuff like that was much darker, and obviously did well as well at that time. But the anime just exploded, I think, because of that. Akira being one of the first ones that I had seen that I knew was anime, and I was like, holy cow, what is this show? And that really kind of got me into anime. Like, I just wanted to see more. But it wasn't accessible. We had, I don't know, do you guys remember Blockbuster?
Yeah.
Are they still around? All right, so when Blockbuster was around, I would go and try to find anime. And I didn't know how it was. There was like volumes of anime, and the problem is when I went in, there would be like volumes of 1 and then 5 and 7, and it's like, wait, what? And then you get it, and it's like, oh, I'm missing a lot, So now it's obviously different, but then it was really tough, and I also think part of things being there, that kind of demand also kind of created that explosion, I guess, that boom. People really wanted it.
Is there a type of genre or media that you haven't had a chance to do yet that you're really burning to try out?
Like a musical?
What? Would you like to do a musical? Is there something that you're like, no one said,
No, that's a great question. I haven't actually really. I've kind of just like fallen into everything that I'm into. Like, voice acting wasn't something where I grew up and I was like, I want to become a voice actor. Playing in a band, music wasn't something where I was like, I want to become a musician or a rock star. I did want to become an action star though, from watching Kung Fu theater and stuff. But I've always just kind of like fallen into something and been like, oh, this is kind of cool, you know. So no, I haven't really thought about it. But a kung fu musical
There you go.
would be pretty wild. I'd be up for.
Will you start getting that?
Yeah, there you go.
Get script writing stage, I think.
Would you be singing in the musical? Or just more of the kind of thing?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Sure. Why not? This is my dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Royalty.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of falling into things, you've fallen into some really great series with the voice acting. Is there one in particular, one role or one series that you've been part of there that really means the most to you?
That means the most? Oh gosh. I don't know if there's one. There are many. You know, a lot of them. Like, Trigun changed it all for me. You know. But then throughout, there's been so many. It's for me, it's kind of like I don't know, moments in my life that, you know, at this time, because a lot of times the series it'll impact you quite a bit, you know, or you'll work on something like Code Geass, and then just think, oh, this is a really cool show. I hope people like it, and then you meet people where something that you've worked on has changed their life or helped them through a dark time, and then you realize how important those things are. So for me, there's a lot of series that I really like. Even some of the smaller things that I've worked on where I had no idea, you know, the impact that it would have. Even shows that I hated, or games that I didn't like working on or whatever, had some kind of value to me.
Such as.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you this one because I don't know the name of the game. But I worked on this video game. Have no idea what it was called. I got called in the night before. They were like, "Hey, can you come and do some miscellaneous voiceover for a video game?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I go in, and then they're like, "All right, well, you're going to be playing Goblin number 13." And so I go in, and I'm like looking, and I was like looking at the script, and I was like trying to find the character so I can see what I'm saying, figure out what I'm supposed to do. And I look, and Goblin number 13 just has like vowels, like O's, O-A-A-A, E-I-I-I. I'm like, what is this? You know, and I was like, hey, it's just, what are all these vowels? What are these? I was like, oh, they're Goblin noises. It's like, what do you mean they're Goblin noises? And it's like, oh yeah, you're just gonna, you know, just do some Goblin noises. And I was like, I don't know Goblin noises. I'd never done any kind of like character voices or anything. And I'm like, I don't know any goblins. What? It's like, just like like a goblin. And I had this guinea pig when I was little that I would talk to, and I was like, and it was like, yeah, you do that. And then I was like, okay, cool. So for 4 hours, I was like, and like fall off a cliff, get stabbed, So I did that for 4 hours, screaming top of my lungs, just, and at the end of the session, I couldn't talk. I was like, I was like, thanks, guys. And then the next day, I was supposed to work on this new series. We're supposed to play a young kid voice, but I couldn't do it. And so I got replaced because I couldn't do the voice. So even something like that had an impact in my life, because never again will I agree to a video game so close to working on another show, especially if I have to do a kid voice. So it has
Never go full Goblin.
I went full Goblin for that for sure, because it was the first kind of like character-y thing that I've ever done. So I'm like, I'm going for it, and yeah, I paid for it for sure.
Yeah, it's like the rule number one of acting 101, isn't it? Just never go full into a role that exhausts you.
But it's true. But then at the same time, it's like I had to. That's kind of my mentality on anything that I work on. Any show. I go full on. Like I really want to get into the character, because I feel like if I'm not 100% in, somebody out there watching is going to be like,
Goblin
and
13.
exactly, that Goblin 13 really stood out. But yeah, I don't even know the name of the game. So I always ask people, you guys playing a game through a goblin? I was like, no. But if you hear a goblin, it's like, and that's Johnny.
That'd be annoying if you got cut.
That would.
Let's lose the goblin level. It's no
They're
fun.
like, no, we just wanted you to go ooey. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's
It's one of those cooking ones. It's like,
hard to cook with a goblin. Are there any other tips that you would give anybody going into voice acting?
Oh gosh.
The Johnny Yong Bosch rules to voice acting. I think. Give us a top 5.
Well, let's see. I don't know. There's a lot of things. I've learned quite a few things. You know, there's just how to work the mic, how to be in the studio around producers and directors and other people, how to be respectful. There's just so many things, you know. Maybe I'll start with that or something. So if you go in you're working on a show, a lot of times you don't know what you're working on. Sometimes you will, you have an idea, but many times you just go in, you have no idea. And the director, the writer might be there, the creator might be there, producer might be there, whoever, and then they tell you what the show is, who you're playing, what you're supposed to be doing, and a lot of times in your mind you think, this sounds stupid. It sounds like the dumbest idea in the world. And some people voice that, or they laugh, you know, when they hear something ridiculous, you know. But I always kind of play it safe. I'm like, you don't know what it's going to be like at the end, you know. So just always be respectful, you know. Take it all in. You know, if it's supposed to be funny, then yeah, you can, you know, be lighthearted about it. But yeah, take it all in and you know, commit yourself 100%. Go full goblin. Go full goblin on it, and yeah, just commit yourself to it. You know, tips would be try not to drink like a ton of milk or eating a lot of cheese beforehand, so you're not all smacky. Yeah, try not to pop your peas. You know, pass them under the mic or something. Have a lot of water. I guess there's quite a few things, but it's kind of it depends on the person too. You know, I'd have to see what somebody is doing to understand what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong, and I could be like, well, you should maybe.
Like voiceover classes now to.
I'm not. I don't. But there are plenty of people that do.
Would you like to go full goblin?
Yes, for $9.99.
I mean, I'm talking about going all out.
Yeah.
Vash the Stampede, I think, of all the characters he played, is a completely unique one. Can you talk a little bit about why you think, of all the characters in that wonderful world of anime, he's one that people still have so much affection for?
He's just a likable character, you know? Love and peace, you know, it's his thing, you know? He didn't want to hurt anybody, you know? He was just kind of, I don't know. I mean, there's so much to that one. For me, also, it's very special because it was the first one I worked on. I was, you know, like I'd mentioned before, I was on Power Rangers, the very, you know, cheesy kids show. I called myself the background ranger because I was in the background most of the time, like, right, you know, waiting for a moment to go, like, yay. But I didn't say a whole lot, you know, especially earlier on. And I wasn't really an actor then either. I was just like kind of, when's the fight scenes happening? And so it was, you know, through that dark time where I'd like learned music and was like, I need to figure out this acting thing. Then I booked that role and I was like really committing myself and like, I got to take this seriously. I had a great director that really walked me through technical things as far as like working a mic, being a voice actor, and he was very patient with me in that time too. And but for that character specifically, he was just so wild and so goofy at times, and I was trying to understand why is he so and then you don't realize until later on in the series, for me at least, he was putting on this facade. Yeah, I mean it is his personality, but he's really pushing it and really putting it on because he doesn't want people to know. He doesn't want to know who he is and things like that at certain times. But I think I'm going off on a tangent. But yeah, I think there's so many elements to that person, Vash, that I think people like. And I think it's just because he's really just genuine. He's a genuine nice guy. is this the person you're rooting for? The guy you want to go have donuts with. You might not share, but
You're not getting any donuts. That's horrible. That's
yeah,
horrible
maybe
idea.
that's not a good idea.
Jason David Frank has a ton of like comedic stories about you guys kind of joshing around on the set of Power Rangers.
It's always his fault. I just want to put that out there that any of those
This is on camera now.
pranks, any of those, this Jason Frank, if you're watching this, it is all your fault. You know that.
Do you have any memorable stories of him getting you up into hijinks, so to speak, like
Absolutely, I have plenty of stories.
Would you like to?
Some I will probably never share. Some I share oftentimes. I don't know what stories you guys have heard.
I've heard about him peeing in his pants and running into the river.
Yeah, there's that one. Yeah, there's that one. All right, so you heard that one.
And
Wait,
also-
did you hear that one from me online? All right, I'll tell you that one real quick. All right, so this is Turbo Movie, and we're having a really rough day. All right, so it's freezing, and we got to run out into this ocean. First off, they make Jason, Frank, and I jump off of this. It was like maybe 15-foot cliff onto the ground. You know, it was a beach, but it was like wet and matted. It was ground. It was solid ground, basically. And it's pretty high up. You know, looking up, you're like, 15 feet's not a big deal. But then when you're up there, you're like, holy cow, this is pretty high up here. And then we're thinking, like, shouldn't they put mats down? They're not really, are they seeing the ground? And they did not put mats down. They called us all sorts of names. Like, yeah, producer, the guy who was shooting it at the time, actually, because there was a few people directing throughout. And so it was like calling us names, calling us chicken and all this. And we were like, what? And so anyway, so we're having a rough day. On the beach, cold. We finally do that scene, and now we're down at the beach, and now we're supposed to run into the water to go save our friends. And Jason, and we're waiting there for a while before, you know, action, and we're just like, man, when is this gonna happen? Oh, we're ready? Okay, they're ready. And Jason's standing in front of me. And he's like, and I had heard him a little while earlier just kind of saying that he needed to run to the restroom, but we thought we were gonna be shooting right away, and he did. And he's standing there, the girls are kind of behind me, and I'm looking at his face, and I see his face go. Yeah, Jason Frank. He doesn't like that story. He doesn't like that. There are quite a few stories. Yeah, there's some, and we had good times. We did. And I mean, that was. I didn't go to college. I registered to go to college. I did end up trying to go, but then ended up on Power Rangers. And that was like, you know, for us, that was like us goofing off and having fun. Those were our college years, was Power Rangers, basically. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. There's a lot of those stories.
I don't think we can broadcast any more of them. So on that note, we're going to let you go and get back to your band. Thanks so much,
Thank you. Thank
Johnny.
you guys so
Cheers.
much.